The eighth reflection, a variable God. Prologue. But oh, how different the waking world insists on being. Here, gravity holds its ground, time marches forward with bureaucratic precision, and hierarchies, social, economic, species-wide, bloom like weeds in the cracks of civilization. Nature may abhor a vacuum, but human beings seem to adore a pecking order. So what are we to make of these two truths, one dreamlike, the other empirical? Are they reconcilable in the theatre of our lives, or do they sit on opposite ends of a seesaw that never quite finds balance? The deeper I descend into the mystical, the more I am met by the fingerprints of the physical. And paradoxically, the more I interrogate the physical, the more it shapeshifts into the unknowable, the ineffable, the quantum coy, a mirror house of reflections with no source image. It is as if I am tethered to a rope pulled taut in two directions, one end toward the scientific measurable cosmos, the other into the misty mythic abyss. And no matter how vigorously I knock, both gates, of reason and revelation, remain firmly shut, one guarded by complexity, the other by silence. In this liminal state, I become less a self than a phenomenon, less a doer than a thing being done. I am, like the fish in the pond, blind to the medium of my movement, unaware that the water I swim through is both my world and my limit, the sky, a rumor, the stars, drowned in surface shimmer. We are all like this, aren't we? Breathing without awareness of breath, hearts pulsing without instruction, thoughts birthing themselves in synaptic sparks that we mistake for authorship. We speak of free will, yet cannot even will ourselves to stay alive without an involuntary inhale. So how then should I live, knowing I am sustained by forces I neither command nor comprehend? I think of being still, but stillness is an illusion. Energy pulses even in quietude. The mind is a restless creature, always inventing new maps for lands we'll never visit. We are cosmic cartographers, armed with compasses that never stop spinning. I am, at best, a process hoping to become a product, a something. But this isn't that kind of story. As Feynman wisely quipped, all things jiggle. And so, permanence is a fantasy we tell ourselves between tectonic shifts. We are jugglers who don't know we're juggling, swept up in a choreography we didn't choreograph, part of a ballet with no final act and no revealed script. The music plays on, but its composer remains silent, or perhaps, as some suggest, simply indifferent. Careless in not caring. That, perhaps, is our God. Episode 1. The Summons. Dr. Eleanor Mills was only half awake when she heard the muted thrumming of her phone vibrating on the glass-topped nightstand beside her bed. She blinked in the pre-dawn darkness, momentarily disoriented. Her bedroom was warm, lit faintly by the glow of a street lamp outside. The digital clock read 4:15 a.m. The phone shuddered again. She fumbled for it, expecting a hospital emergency or perhaps an urgent email from a neuroscience journal. She almost didn't answer, but a sudden, inexplicable sense of pressure, like a change in atmospheric conditions, seemed to ripple through her chest. She swiped the screen. "You are needed, urgently," said a male voice. Calm, measured, each vowel carved with an undertone of intensity that set her on edge. It reminded her of how some of the more brilliant, if eccentric minds she'd encountered spoke, as though their thoughts moved too quickly to be contained by ordinary language. "Who is this?" she managed, trying not to betray her alarm. "An admirer of your research into the architecture of consciousness and your gift for decoding the labyrinth of the mind," came the reply. "You've read The Shape of Illusions. Now it's time to test what you've learned in the field." The call ended abruptly. For a moment, she simply stared at the device. "An admirer of your research." Which research? She had published widely. Papers on neural plasticity, the illusions of free will, fringe theories regarding the quantum underpinnings of consciousness in microtubules. Some were mainstream enough to gain her a modicum of fame. Others were borderline taboo in the strict halls of conventional neuroscience. She recalled the lecture she'd delivered 2 nights ago at a conference in Chicago, Consciousness as Quantum Interference. She had dissected the possibility that at the subneuronal scale, quantum coherence might affect the emergent property of thought. The hall had been silent afterward, though not from boredom. She sensed an electric hush, an intangible chord struck in the audience. Eleanor closed her eyes, exhaling slowly, when the phone buzzed with a new message. Coordinates: 7 p.m. tomorrow. Bring your colleague Varun Chatterjee. Varun Chatterjee? They were acquaintances who had crossed paths during an interdisciplinary symposium at Caltech. He was a brilliant AI researcher, known for pushing the boundaries of emergent machine consciousness. They'd corresponded electronically, co-authored a single paper exploring parallels between human neural networks and advanced self-learning algorithms. But they weren't exactly friends. She dialed Varun's number without hesitation. Normally, she'd worry about the ungodly hour, but given this bizarre summons, courtesy outweighed curiosity by only the thinnest margin. Varun's voice was scratchy with sleep when he answered. Eleanor. She quickly explained the call, the mysterious voice, the coordinates, the suggestion that they both attend. A pregnant pause crackled through the line. I got a similar call, Varun finally said, about half an hour ago. Same nonsense about needing me, referencing my work on emergent AI consciousness, and the same coordinates. So, Eleanor said, heart drumming with adrenaline, do we go? Varun breathed into the phone. Yes, I think we do. I can't explain it, but it feels important, real. Besides, we've both been chasing big ideas for years. Maybe this is where they converge. Eleanor ended the call and stared at the dark ceiling of her room. The echoes of her dream were gone now, replaced by the sharpened reality of an open question. This sense of compulsion, it was more than curiosity. It was as if some intangible force had extended an invisible thread, tugging them to follow. She could almost sense the labyrinth of the unknown opening before her. A tapestry of waking hours. By the time dawn properly broke, Eleanor was already deep in research. She pored over any clue about the coordinates. They indicated a desolate spot near a decommissioned airstrip in the Nevada desert. Once upon a time, the region had hosted rumored secret projects, military prototypes, advanced flight research, conspiracy fodder for UFO enthusiasts, the usual. Beyond that, there was little else. Varun texted her that he'd found references to a black-budget program called Project Harmonia, rumored to involve bridging mind and machine for defense applications. The lead scuttlebutt said it was scrapped due to unpredictable quantum anomalies. Typical hush-hush. Might be relevant, might be disinformation. Eleanor's breath quickened. She recalled reading the name Harmonic Resonator Pod in a footnote once. Could the coordinates point to the remains of that old project? And if so, why recruit a neuroscientist and an AI engineer, both with a fascination for the quantum fringes of consciousness? Journey to the unknown. The next day found them driving through the Nevada desert. They'd agreed to arrive in separate vehicles to avoid notice. The sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon in molten gold and dusty pink. The roads were largely empty, save for the occasional battered pickup or tumbleweed. Eleanor felt the hush of the desert, that ancient quiet that muffles time itself. She had the fleeting notion that, in such a place, the boundaries between the mundane and the extraordinary could blur. Finally, she reached the coordinates. A squat, windowless structure loomed at the end of a cracked asphalt strip. Floodlights flickered overhead. The desert wind stung her cheeks with fine sand. Varun's sedan appeared behind her. They parked side by side, exchanging terse greetings. He was tall and wiry, with an academic's perpetual dishevelment, dark hair perpetually in need of a trim. They approached the sole entrance, a steel door locked with a keypad that displayed a simple prompt: Enter authorization. They hesitated. Then Varun tried pressing his thumb to the pad in a moment of whimsy. To their astonishment, the door beeped and slid open. What in the world? Eleanor muttered. They knew we'd come, Varun answered quietly, voice tight with excitement or dread, perhaps both. Inside, the corridor stretched into darkness, lit only by faint emergency lights. The air smelled of stale electronics, dusty metal, and something else. Ozone, perhaps, or the tang of old wiring. A hum, low-pitched and almost inaudible, vibrated through the walls. A discovery. After a series of turns, each corridor unmarked, all looking eerily identical, they emerged into a vast central chamber. The ceiling soared at least 3 stories high. In the center stood a contraption that dwarfed them both, a spherical chamber with an array of LED rings encircling its equator. It looked futuristic and archaic at once, like something from both a steampunk dream and a NASA blueprint. Varun approached, face a mask of rapt fascination. A small placard at the base read, Neuroharmonic Resonation Pod, Prototype 7. Eleanor felt a thrill shoot through her. She recognized the naming convention from her obscure research leads. So, it does exist. This was rumored to be a DARPA-funded experiment to synchronize human brainwaves with quantum computing processes. Yes, Varun murmured, and rumor had it that it got shelved after repeated failures. Something about uncontrollable wave function collapses. They stepped closer. A console jutted out from a dais, black touchscreen flickering with lines of cryptic code. It displayed a single prompt. Insert labyrinth key to proceed. They exchanged puzzled glances. Labyrinth key? One more layer to this puzzle. They fanned out, exploring the edges of the cavernous room. Tucked away behind crates of outdated equipment, Eleanor found a battered wooden table. On it lay a large, ancient-looking tome bound in dark, scuffed leather. Its cover was unmarked, but it emanated an air of significance, like a relic from some hidden vault. She opened it carefully. The pages were thick, vellum-like, covered in a kaleidoscope of symbols and notations. Sanskrit, Aramaic, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Sumerian cuneiform, all interwoven with complex diagrams reminiscent of advanced physics. She recognized Minkowski space-time references, Hamiltonian operators, and swirling geometric patterns that looked like fractals. It was as if every mode of human knowledge, from archaic mysticism to quantum mathematics, had been jammed between these covers. Nestled between the pages was a small metal token, octagonal and etched with swirling lines. One side bore an Eye of Horus design, fused with fractal geometry. The other side featured a single Greek letter. Eleanor felt a tingle when she touched it, as though it emitted a faint electrical current. She carried it back to Varun, who studied it with equal amazement. Sure enough, next to the pod's console, there was a circular recess the size of a coin. She placed the token in it. Instantly, the pod's LED ring flared to life. The console screen flashed Protocol Engaged, the maze of existence. A hiss of hydraulics as the spherical device's hatch slid open, revealing 2 reclined seats within. Overhead, an array of neural interface sensors and harnesses dangled like the legs of some mechanical spider. "Are we really doing this?" Varun asked, voice trembling slightly. Eleanor swallowed, thinking of the dreamlike words from the mysterious phone call. "Your next puzzle awaits." She nodded. They climbed inside, strapping themselves into the seats. A mechanical voice greeted them. "Welcome, Doctor Mills and Dr. Chatterjee. Prepare for Phase 1, the labyrinth." Eleanor's heart pounded. The harness clicked into place around her temples. She glanced over at Varun. He was pale but resolute. A low hum filled the pod, intensifying until it resonated in her teeth. Lights danced at the edges of her vision. She felt a sudden, vertiginous shift, as though her consciousness were being gently pulled in 2 directions. Then darkness swallowed everything.